He was warned about the alien sister and heat, but left his door wide open. Adam Silver never thought his life would change dramatically because he forgot to lock a door. As he pulled his sleek hoverbike into the driveway of his friend Thorian's expansive villa on the outskirts of New Albion Colony, the setting binary suns cast long purple shadows across the manicured lawn. The air was thick with the sweet scent of alien flowers, their bioluminescent petals beginning to glow in the approaching darkness. "Damn, you actually made it!" Thorian's deep voice boomed as he stepped out onto the porch. The Cerulan's azure skin seemed to shimmer in the fading light, his silver markings catching the last rays of the setting suns. "I was starting to think you'd gotten lost in the outer ring again." Adam grinned, running a hand through his dark hair. "That was one time, and the nav system was glitching." He grabbed his tool bag from the bike's storage compartment. "Besides, I wouldn't miss this. How many humans get to work on authentic Cerulan quantum drives?" "Well, you're the only human engineer I trust not to blow up my house," Thorian chuckled, leading Adam inside. The interior was climate-controlled to the cooler temperatures Cerulans preferred, making Adam grateful he'd worn his thermal-regulated jacket. They spent hours in Thorian's workshop, bent over the complicated machinery. Adam lost track of time, absorbed in the intricate quantum mechanics. It wasn't until his vision started blurring that he realized how late it had gotten. "You look dead on your feet," Thorian observed. "Stay the night. Guest room's yours." His expression grew serious. "But Adam, listen carefully. Lock your door. My sister Marana's visiting, and she's in heat." Adam raised an eyebrow. "In heat? Cerulan females go through intense mating cycles. She's not herself right now. Just trust me on this. Lock your door." Too exhausted to process the warning properly, Adam merely nodded. The guest room was luxurious, with a massive bed that seemed to call his name. He stripped down to his boxers, collapsed onto the silken sheets, and was asleep before his head hit the pillow. He completely forgot about the door. Hours later, in the depths of night, that unlocked door silently swung open. A figure stepped into the moonlight streaming through the window. Tall, graceful, with glowing blue skin and flowing dark blue hair that seemed to float in an invisible breeze. Marana's lemon-yellow eyes fixed on Adam's sleeping form, pupils dilating with primal hunger. She moved like liquid mercury, sliding onto the bed beside him. The heat radiating from her body drew him from sleep, his dark eyes fluttering open to find himself staring into those alien yellow orbs. His breath caught in his throat. "I could smell you from down the hall," she whispered, her voice like honey laced with something dangerous. "So warm, so vital." Adam's mind raced to catch up with what was happening, but his body was already responding to her proximity, to the intoxicating scent she was giving off. "Your brother warned me." "Did he?" She traced a finger down his chest, leaving a trail of tingling sensation in its wake. "And yet you left your door open. I think you wanted this as much as I do." Before Adam could formulate a response, she pressed her lips to his, and rational thought became impossible. Her kiss tasted like stardust and summer lightning, and when she pulled back, he found himself chasing her lips. "Last chance to stop this," she breathed against his mouth. Instead of answering, Adam tangled his fingers in her floating hair and pulled her back down to him. The last coherent thought he had was that some mistakes were worth making. The twin suns of New Albion Colony painted the morning sky in shades of amber and rose when Adam awoke to find himself tangled in silken sheets with Marana's luminescent form curled against him. Her blue skin seemed to pulse with a subtle glow, her dark hair floating ethereally around them both. The events of the night rushed back to him in a flood of sensations and emotions. "Good morning, my burning star," Marana purred, her lemon-yellow eyes meeting his with an intensity that made his breath catch. The Cerulean term of endearment sparked something primal in him. Before Adam could respond, the door burst open. Thorian stood in the doorway, his silver markings flashing with agitation. "By the celestial spheres," he exclaimed, his normally composed demeanor cracking. "I specifically warned you." Adam sat up, keeping the sheet strategically placed. "Thorian, I can explain." "Oh, this should be fascinating," Thorian interrupted, crossing his arms. "Please, enlighten me on how you ignored my explicit warning about my sister's heat cycle." Marana stretched languidly, seemingly unconcerned about her brother's presence. Dear brother, you're being rather dramatic. I'm a grown woman, and Adam is... She cast him a smoldering glance that made his skin tingle. I'm quite capable of handling the situation. Handling the... Thorian sputtered. Do you have any idea what you've done? The implications? The potential consequences? Adam's engineering mind kicked into gear, finally processing the gravity of the situation. Consequences? He asked, looking between the siblings. Thorian began pacing, his agitation manifesting in small pulses of bioluminescence across his skin. Cerulan heat cycles aren't just about physical attraction. They're about reproduction, pair bonding, genetic compatibility. Our species doesn't take intimate relations lightly, especially during a heat cycle. The compatibility was remarkable, Morana interjected, her voice carrying a note of wonder. I've never experienced anything like it. The energy transfer, the resonance. Spare me the details, Thorian groaned. But yes, that's exactly what concerns me. Human-Cerulan relations are rare enough, but a successful coupling during a heat cycle. The Genetic Council will be very interested. Adam felt a chill despite the room's warmth. The Genetic Council? Our governing body for all matters of reproduction and genetic lineage, Morana explained, sitting up and letting the sheets pool around her waist. Her corset from the previous night had been discarded somewhere in their passion. They're particularly interested in successful cross-species partnerships, which are supposed to be carefully monitored and approved in advance, Thorian added pointedly. Adam ran a hand through his disheveled hair. Look, I'm sorry about not locking the door, but what's done is done. We're both consenting adults. Consent isn't the issue, Thorian cut in. The issue is that Cerulan heat cycles create permanent biochemical bonds. You two are now linked in ways you don't even understand. As if to prove his point, Adam suddenly felt a wave of emotion that wasn't his own. A mixture of contentment, desire, and something deeper he couldn't quite name. He looked at Morana in surprise, and she smiled knowingly. The bond is already forming, she said softly. I can feel your confusion, your concern, and your attraction. Thorian threw his hands up in exasperation. This is exactly what I mean. You've initiated a psychic pair bond without any preparation or understanding of the implications. I understand enough, Adam said, surprising himself with his certainty. I feel it. This connection. It's like nothing I've ever experienced. Morana's hand found his under the sheets and another wave of shared sensation washed over them both. Her touch sent sparks of electricity through his nervous system, amplified by their newfound connection. The bond will only grow stronger, she murmured, her eyes locked with his. Every touch, every shared moment that shouldn't be happening, Thorian interrupted. The Council will demand an investigation. They'll want to study this unauthorized pairing. And Adam, you have no idea what you're getting into with Cerulan relationship customs. Then explain them to me, Adam said firmly, squeezing Morana's hand. Because I'm not walking away from this. Morana's joy at his words flooded through their bond, nearly overwhelming him with its intensity. Thorian noticed their reaction and sighed deeply. The bond is already too strong to break without causing you both significant trauma, he admitted. But this won't be easy. Cerulan partnerships during heat cycles are meant to be permanent. Our society doesn't recognize casual relations, especially not during such a crucial biological period. Permanent, Adam echoed, but found the idea didn't terrify him as much as it should have. We mate for life, Morana said simply. And now, thanks to the heat cycle and our compatibility, we're already halfway there. The question is, are you willing to go all the way? The intensity of her gaze held him captive as he considered the magnitude of what had happened and what it meant for their future. The rational part of his mind said he should be freaking out, but the connection thrumming between them felt right in a way he couldn't explain. I need time to process this, he said finally, but I'm not running away. Whatever this is between us, whatever it means, I want to understand it, to explore it. Thorian made a sound somewhere between a groan and a laugh. Well, you'll have plenty of time for that while we figure out how to handle the Council. They'll either want to study you both extensively or banish you to the outer colonies. They can try, Morana said, a dangerous edge to her voice that sent a shiver of excitement through Adam. I've chosen my mate. The old laws give me that right. 3 days after their fateful night together, Adam and Morana sat in Thorian's ornate living room, awaiting the arrival of the Genetic Council representatives. The air hummed with tension and unspoken desires, Their newly formed bond had grown stronger with each passing hour, making it increasingly difficult to maintain professional composure. "Stop projecting such intense thoughts," Thorian muttered from across the room, his silver markings flickering with discomfort. "Some of us are sensitive to psychic emanations." Marana's lips curved into a mischievous smile as she deliberately brushed her hand against Adam's thigh. The touch sent a cascade of shared sensations through their bond, making Adam grip the armrest of his chair. "Sister, please," Thorian groaned. "The council members will be here any moment." As if on cue, the home's HFY announced the arrival of 3 distinguished-looking Cerulans. Their formal robes rippled with patterns of bioluminescence that indicated their high rank. The leader, a tall male with intricate silver markings, introduced himself as Archon Peleus. "Fascinating," he said, his lemon-yellow eyes studying Adam and Marana intently. "The bond resonance between you is remarkably strong for such a new pairing, especially considering the unconventional circumstances." Adam felt Marana's irritation flare through their connection. "There's nothing unconventional about choosing a mate during heat cycle," she stated firmly. "It's our most ancient law." "For Cerulan pairings, yes," the female council member interjected. Her name was Matron Alera, and her tone carried centuries of authority. "But a human? The implications are unprecedented." The third council member, a younger male named Researcher Darius, pulled out a complex scanning device. "With your permission, we'd like to measure your bond resonance frequencies." Adam glanced at Marana, who nodded slightly. As Darius waved the scanner over them, the device emitted a series of increasingly high-pitched tones. "Extraordinary," Darius breathed, staring at the readings. "Their neural patterns are perfectly synchronized. The human's biochemistry has already begun adapting to match Cerulan resonance frequencies." Archon Peleus leaned forward, his interest clearly piqued. "And you say this occurred naturally? Without any technological assistance?" "The only assistance was my brother's failure to properly warn his friend about locked doors," Marana said dryly, sending a wave of affectionate amusement through their bond. And Adam couldn't help but smile, despite the serious situation. "To be fair, he did warn me. I was just too exhausted to listen." "Remarkable," Matron Alara murmured. "A human capable of forming a spontaneous psychic bond during a Cerulan heat cycle. This could revolutionize our understanding of cross-species compatibility." "We're not laboratory specimens," Marana said sharply, her protective instincts flaring. Adam felt her anxiety and placed his hand over hers, sending calming thoughts through their connection. "Of course not," Archon Peleus assured them smoothly, "but you must understand our interest. Human-Cerulan relations have been limited primarily to trade and diplomatic functions. A viable reproductive pairing could have far-reaching implications for both our species." Adam's head snapped up. "Reproductive? You didn't think a heat cycle was just for pleasure, did you?" Matron Alar asked, her tone almost amused. "The biochemical changes have already begun. Conception is all but guaranteed." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Through their bond, Adam felt Marana's mixture of joy, anxiety, and fierce determination. His own emotions mirrored hers, with an added layer of awe at the possibility of creating something entirely new. "This changes everything," Researcher Darius said excitedly. "A human Cerulan hybrid would be the first of its kind. The genetic possibilities are not your primary concern," Thorian interrupted firmly. "My sister and her chosen mate have rights under our ancient laws." Archon Peleus nodded slowly. "Indeed they do. But those same laws require proper documentation and observation of such a significant pairing. There will need to be regular examinations, genetic counseling, cultural integration training." "And if we refuse," Marana challenged, her hand tightening on Adam's, "then we cannot guarantee the safety or legal status of your offspring," Matron Alara stated bluntly. "Unregistered cross-species births are technically prohibited under colonial law." Adam felt a surge of protective instinct that surprised him with its intensity. The idea of his child, their child, being considered illegal was unacceptable. Through their bond, he sensed Marana's fierce agreement. "We'll cooperate," he said finally, "but on our terms. We're not going to be treated like research subjects." Archon Peleus spread his hands in a conciliatory gesture. "Of course, we merely wish to document and support this historic union. However," he paused significantly, There is the matter of the traditional bonding ceremony. Ceremony? Adam asked while simultaneously feeling Marana's spike of excitement through their connection. A public declaration of your union, Thorian explained. It would make everything official under both Cerulan and colonial law, and it must be performed before the heat cycle ends, Matron Alara added, which by my estimation gives you approximately 48 hours. Adam felt a rush of desire through their bond as Marana shifted closer to him. The heat cycle's effects were becoming harder to ignore with each passing moment. The council members' bioluminescence patterns shifted in response to the obvious surge of energy between them. I believe we should conclude this meeting, Archon Peleus said diplomatically. We'll return tomorrow to begin the ceremony preparations. I suggest you both rest in the meantime. As the council members departed, Thorian muttered something about needing to be anywhere else and quickly left the room. Alone at last, Adam turned to Marana, whose yellow eyes were glowing with an intensity that made his breath catch. 48 hours, she whispered, trailing a finger along his jaw. Barely enough time to teach you all our bonding traditions. The surge of images and sensations she sent through their connection made Adam grateful he was already sitting down. I'm a quick study, he managed to say. Her answering smile was both wicked and tender. Yes, you are, my burning star. Yes, you are. The preparation for a Cerulan bonding ceremony turned out to be far more complex than Adam had imagined. As the twin suns reached their zenith, he found himself in Thorian's ceremonial chamber, surrounded by ancient artifacts and scrolling holographic texts detailing thousands of years of tradition. The mark of unity must be perfectly synchronized, Matron Alara instructed, adjusting the position of the ceremonial crystals around them. Your biorhythms need to align precisely with the celestial resonance. Adam stood shirtless in the center of an intricate pattern of light, watching as iridescent markings, similar to Cerulan bioluminescence, were carefully applied to his skin by the ceremony artists. Each stroke tingled with a strange energy that seemed to pulse in time with his heartbeat. Remarkable, researcher Darius muttered, monitoring his readings. The human cellular structure is actually adapting to accept the ceremonial markings. This level of compatibility is unprecedented. Through their strengthening bond, Adam could feel Marana's amused satisfaction from the adjacent chamber where she underwent her own preparations. Her emotions were a constant warmth in his mind, growing more intense with each passing hour of her heat cycle. Focus, please, Matron Alara chided, noting his distraction. The marking ceremony requires complete concentration. It's a bit difficult to concentrate with my mate broadcasting such interesting thoughts, Adam admitted, causing several of the younger Cerulan assistants to titter nervously. Archon Peleus entered the chamber, his formal robes shimmering with complex patterns. The council chambers are filled to capacity, he announced. Word of your union has spread faster than anticipated. Every major family has sent representatives. Perfect, Thorian groaned from his corner, as if there wasn't enough pressure already. The attention is unavoidable, Archon Peleus stated. This union represents a potential evolutionary leap for both species. The political implications alone are not our primary concern, Adam interrupted firmly, channeling some of Marana's fierce protectiveness through their bond. This ceremony is about our connection, not politics. The Archon's markings flickered with surprise at his boldness. Indeed, speaking of connection, it's time for the resonance test. The ceremonial artists stepped back, their work complete. Adam's torso now bore intricate patterns that mimicked Cerulan bioluminescence, swirling designs that seemed to shift and move with his breathing. Matron Alara approached with a crystalline device that hummed with inner light. This will measure your spiritual harmony and determine if you're ready for the final bonding. Be warned, it can be intense. The moment she activated the device, Adam felt as though electricity was coursing through his veins. The markings on his skin blazed to life, and suddenly his connection to Marana exploded into new dimensions. He could feel everything, her excitement, her desire, her love, all amplified beyond anything they'd experienced before. In the adjacent chamber, Marana gasped as the resonance hit her as well. Their shared sensations created a feedback loop that made the ceremonial crystals around them pulse with brilliant light. Extraordinary, researcher Darius exclaimed. The resonance patterns are perfectly synchronized. Even lifelong Cerulan pairs rarely achieve this level of harmony. Adam barely heard him. lost in the overwhelming sensation of being completely connected to Marana. Through their enhanced bond, he could feel her struggling to maintain composure as her heat cycles surged in response to their heightened connection. "Perhaps we should accelerate the timeline," Matron Alara suggested diplomatically, noting the rising energy in the room. "Their bond is clearly more than sufficient for the ceremony." "Agreed," Archon Peleus said quickly. "The traditional waiting period seems unnecessary given the circumstances." Thorian muttered something that sounded suspiciously like, "Thank the celestial spheres," and hurried off to make the arrangements. As the ceremonial team bustled around him, making final adjustments to his markings and ritual garments, Adam tried to focus on the technical aspects of the ceremony, the traditional vows he'd memorized, the precise movements required for the unity dance, anything to distract from the increasingly passionate emotions flowing through his bond with Marana. "The ceremony will begin at sunset," Archon Peleus announced. "The alignment of the binary stars creates the perfect resonance frequency for the final bonding." "That's hours away," Adam protested, feeling another wave of desire pulse through their connection. Matron Alara's expression softened with understanding. "Perhaps some meditation would help you both maintain control until then. Separate meditation chambers, of course." The knowing looks from the Cerulan officials made Adam realize just how obvious their mutual attraction must be to a species of empaths. The ceremonial markings on his skin were pulsing in time with his heartbeat, broadcasting his emotional state to everyone in the room. "Your ability to maintain composure despite the intensity of a Cerulan heat cycle is impressive," researcher Darius commented, still taking readings. "Most non-Cerulans would be overwhelmed by now." "Human resilience continues to surprise us," Archon Peleus agreed. "Perhaps this is why your species has achieved so much in such a short time since joining the galactic community." Through their bond, Adam felt Marana's fierce pride in him, along with other emotions that made him grateful for the formal ceremonial robes he now wore. The countdown to sunset suddenly seemed impossibly long. "Remember," Matron Alara said softly, "the ceremony is just the beginning. The real challenge will be navigating your shared future as the first of your kind. A true union of human and Cerulan." Adam smiled, sending waves of confidence and love through his bond with Marana. "We're ready for whatever comes next." The answering surge of emotion from his mate nearly made his knees buckle. "Separate meditation chambers," Matron Alara repeated firmly. Now, the bonding ceremony had barely concluded when Marana collapsed into Adam's arms, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with unprecedented intensity. Through their newly strengthened bond, he felt a startling wave of physical changes coursing through her body. "The pregnancy is accelerating," researcher Darius announced, his scanning devices whirring frantically. "The ceremonial resonance has catalyzed the genetic fusion process." The grand ceremonial chamber erupted into chaos. Political representatives from various Cerulan factions pushed forward, each trying to offer assistance or claim some connection to this historic moment. Adam held Marana protectively, their ceremonial markings glowing in perfect synchronization. "Clear the chamber," Archon Peleus commanded, his authoritative voice cutting through the commotion. "Everyone except medical staff and immediate family, out." As the crowd reluctantly dispersed, Adam felt Marana's consciousness brush against his mind, filled with a mixture of joy and concern. Their child was growing at an impossible rate, the hybrid genetics operating under rules neither species fully understood. "The human's biological resilience appears to be accelerating the gestation," Matron Alara observed, her medical scanners hovering over Marana's midsection. "The fetus is developing at roughly 10 times the normal rate." "Fascinating," a new voice cut in. Adam turned to see Ambassador Rillian, the head of the progressive faction, who had somehow managed to remain in the chamber. "This proves that human genetic adaptability could revolutionize our entire species." "This isn't a political opportunity," Adam growled, his protective instincts surging. Through their bond, he felt Marana's appreciation of his fierce response. "Everything involving the first human Cerulan hybrid is political," countered Delegate Marius of the Traditional Values Coalition, who had also lingered. "The genetic implications alone—" "Can wait," Thorian interrupted firmly. "My sister needs medical attention, not political debates." But even as he spoke, more faction representatives were finding excuses to enter the chamber, each trying to position themselves close to the historic couple. Adam could feel Marana's frustration mounting, her heat cycle making her particularly sensitive to the crowded environment. Suddenly, she grabbed Adam's hand, sending a clear image through their bond, an escape route through the ceremonial chamber's private meditation gardens. Without hesitation, he swept her into his arms, their ceremonial robes swirling together as he headed for the hidden door. "You can't leave," Ambassador Rillian protested. "The protocols for monitoring such a unique pregnancy." "Watch us," Marana purred, her yellow eyes glowing with mischief despite her physical discomfort. Through their bond, Adam felt her satisfaction as they slipped away from the political circus. The meditation gardens were a maze of bioluminescent plants and crystalline formations, designed to enhance spiritual connections. As soon as they were alone, Marana's heat cycle surged again, her skin practically incandescent with desire. "The pregnancy isn't slowing your cycle," Adam observed, feeling her need echo through their bond. "On the contrary," she whispered, pulling him deeper into the garden's privacy. "It's intensifying everything. Our child's rapid development is drawing on our combined energy, creating a feedback loop of—" She didn't finish the sentence, but the wave of sensation she sent through their bond made her meaning clear. They found a secluded alcove surrounded by singing crystals that resonated with their combined energy. The ceremonial markings on their skin pulsed in harmony as they came together, their bond transforming physical attraction into something transcendent. Hours later, they were discovered by a very embarrassed Thorian who had been sent to retrieve them. "The medical team is rather insistent about monitoring the pregnancy," he said, carefully avoiding direct eye contact. "And there are 17 different political delegations demanding audiences." "Let them demand," Marana said lazily, her head resting on Adam's chest. Through their bond, he could feel both their child's rapid development and her utter contentment. "It's not that simple," Thorian sighed. "Your accelerated pregnancy is unprecedented. Every faction sees it as proof that their particular agenda for Cerulan evolution is correct. The progressives want to use you as an example of beneficial cross-species breeding. The traditionalists are calling for genetic quarantine. The spiritual harmony group is declaring your bond a sign from the celestial spheres." "And what do you think, brother?" Marana asked, her hand protectively covering her visibly growing midsection. "I think my best friend and my sister have created something miraculous," Thorian admitted. "And I think you're going to need all the help you can get to protect it from those who would use it for their own ends." Adam felt Marana's surge of affection for her brother, along with a sharp twinge that made them both gasp. Through their bond, they could feel their child's consciousness beginning to stir, already showing signs of both human adaptability and Cerulan empathic abilities. "The medical team really should check on you," Thorian insisted. "The rate of development is unprecedented." "Fine," Marana conceded, allowing Adam to help her up. "But no politicians? Our child isn't going to be anyone's proof of concept." As they made their way back to the medical chamber, Adam felt the weight of countless eyes upon them. Their glowing ceremonial markings made them impossible to miss, and news of the accelerated pregnancy had clearly spread. "They're afraid," he realized, picking up fragments of emotion from the observers. "Not of us, but of what we represent." "Change," Marana agreed through their bond. "Proof that humans aren't just compatible with our species, but might actually improve it. That's a dangerous idea for those in power." Their child shifted again, sending waves of pure possibility through their shared consciousness. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Human, Cerulan, and something gloriously new. The medical chamber in Thorian's villa had been transformed into a fortified sanctuary. 3 days after the bonding ceremony, Adam paced the room while monitoring the various diplomatic channels on floating holoscreens. Marana reclined on a specialized biobed, her rapidly growing belly emanating pulses of bioluminescence that synchronized with their child's developing consciousness. "The progressive faction is offering a sanctuary in their private medical facility," Adam reported, scanning the latest proposals. "Complete privacy and state-of-the-art genetic monitoring. In exchange for exclusive access to our child's developmental data," Marana finished, picking up his thoughts through their bond. "No better than the traditionalists' offer of protective custody." Their shared irritation rippled through the ceremonial markings that still adorned their skin, now permanent features of their bonded state. The markings had evolved beyond mere decoration, becoming a visible manifestation of their connection that shifted and swirled with their emotions. The human diplomatic corps has also reached out, Thorian announced, entering with fresh medical readings. They're rather interested in their first human Cerulan citizen. Adam felt Marana's amusement through their bond. I'm sure they are. Humanity's first successful cross-species pregnancy would be quite the diplomatic coup. Successful is an understatement, Thorian muttered, reviewing the latest scans. The fetus has developed more in 3 days than most Cerulan pregnancies achieve in 3 months. The genetic integration is remarkable. Through their bond, Adam and Marana could feel their child's rapidly expanding consciousness. Already it was capable of responding to their emotions, sending waves of contentment when they were close to stress when political arguments grew heated. The Genetic Council is convening an emergency session, Thorian continued. They're divided on how to classify your child. Some want to create an entirely new genetic category. Our child isn't a specimen to be classified, Adam said firmly, moving to sit beside Marana. The moment he touched her, their ceremonial markings blazed with shared emotion, and their child's consciousness reached out to them both. The Council's classification could affect our legal status, Marana reminded him, though her hand sought his instinctively. Without official recognition, we could face challenges to our family's rights. Their bond hummed with shared concern, but also determination. The political maneuvering had grown increasingly complex as news of their unprecedented pregnancy spread through the galaxy. Every species with a genetic modification program had expressed interest in studying their successful hybridization. Ambassador Relian is here again, the House AI announced. He insists the progressive faction can protect you from the more radical elements of the traditionalist movement. Before they could respond, another announcement followed. Delegate Marius of the Traditional Values Coalition has also arrived. He warns against trusting progressive promises. Adam felt Marana's surge of frustration, amplified by her ongoing heat cycle. Despite her advanced pregnancy, the cycle showed no signs of abating, making their moments alone increasingly intense. Their child's rapid development seemed to be feeding off their passionate energy, creating a feedback loop of accelerated growth. Tell them both we're unavailable, Thorian decided, noting his sister's agitation. The medical readings indicate another developmental surge approaching, family only for the next few hours. As if in response to his words, Marana gasped, her belly illuminating with patterns that matched their ceremonial markings. Through their bond, Adam felt their child's consciousness expanding again, reaching out with both human curiosity and Cerulan empathic ability. The combined traits are stabilizing, Thorian observed, studying the readings with fascination. Human adaptability is actually enhancing Cerulan psychic capabilities, rather than diluting them as the traditionalists feared. Which is exactly why we need to control how this information reaches the public, a new voice declared. And they turned to see Matron Ilara entering the chamber, her formal robes indicating she came directly from the council. The political balance is delicate, she continued. Your child represents possibilities that could reshape both our societies. There are those who fear such change, and others who would exploit it. Adam felt Marana's protective instincts flare through their bond. Their child responded instantly, its developing consciousness projecting waves of reassurance to both parents. We don't need to control the information, Adam said, struck by sudden inspiration. We need to share it, all of it, with everyone. What? Thorian and Matron Ilara asked simultaneously. Think about it, Adam continued, feeling Marana's growing excitement as she followed his thoughts through their bond. The factions are fighting because they each have partial information that seems to support their position. But if we release all the data, show them the complete picture. The truth of successful hybridization speaks for itself, Marana finished. No political spin, just pure scientific fact. It's unprecedented, Matron Ilara protested. The Genetic Council has strict protocols, which were written before we existed, Marana interrupted, her yellow eyes gleaming. Our child is unprecedented. Perhaps our approach should be as well. Their child's consciousness pulsed with approval, projecting an empathic wave so strong that even Thorian and Matron Ilara felt it. The sensation left them stunned. Was that? Matron Ilara whispered. Our child voting for transparency, Adam confirmed, unable to hide his pride. Through their bond, Marana's matching emotion created a feedback loop that made their ceremonial markings dance with light. The council will never approve, Thorian warned, though his expression was thoughtful. Then we don't ask them, Miranda said simply. We're already breaking new ground. Might as well break new protocols too. The plan to release their genetic data publicly was interrupted by Miranda's first contraction. The biomonitors in the medical chamber erupted with alerts as patterns of intense bioluminescence rippled across her skin. Through their bond, Adam felt both her discomfort and their child's eagerness to enter the world. The birth wasn't supposed to happen for another day, Thorian exclaimed, frantically checking readings. Tell that to your nephew, Miranda gasped, her yellow eyes glowing with unprecedented brightness. He's as impatient as his father. Before Adam could protest this characterization, the chamber's security system chimed. Multiple approaching vehicles detected, the AI announced. Genetic Council security forces and representatives from all major political factions. They must have detected the birth signs, Matron Alara said, rushing to activate additional medical equipment. The energy signature is impossible to hide. Suddenly, a new voice cut through the chaos. Perhaps I can help with that. A tall, elegant Cerulan female stepped out of a previously hidden door panel, her elaborate robes marking her as a member of the mysterious Shadow Consensus, a secretive group that maintained balance between Cerulan factions. Counselor Neria, Matron Alara breathed. The Shadow Consensus hasn't intervened in a birth since the last time our species stood on the brink of evolutionary change, Neria finished. Her silver markings shifted in complex patterns as she approached Miranda. We've been watching your situation with great interest. Another contraction hit, stronger than the first. Adam felt it through their bond and moved to support Miranda, their ceremonial markings blazing in synchronization. Their child's consciousness reached out to all present, projecting a mixture of excitement and reassurance. Remarkable, Neria murmured. The child already shows both human adaptability and enhanced Cerulan empathic abilities. The Shadow Consensus believes this union represents exactly the kind of evolution our species needs. The traditionalists are breaching the outer security perimeter, Thorian reported, monitoring the displays. Progressive forces are trying to block them. It's turning into a political riot out there. Let them fight, Neria said calmly, producing a small crystalline device. This chamber is now under Shadow Consensus protection. No one enters without the parents' permission. The device hummed to life, creating a shimming field that made the room seem to shift slightly out of phase with normal space-time. Through their bond, Adam felt Miranda's relief at the additional privacy, though it was quickly overwhelmed by another contraction. The birth is progressing faster than any in recorded history, Matron Alara observed, studying the medical readings with fascination. The human genetic influence appears to be optimizing the process. Adam felt a surge of pride through their bond, accompanied by Miranda's mental equivalent of an eye roll. Their playful exchange was interrupted by the most powerful contraction yet. The child comes now, Neria announced, her markings pulsing with ancient patterns. And with it, a new chapter in both our species' history. What followed was a blur of sensation and emotion, amplified by their bond to nearly overwhelming levels. Their child's consciousness merged briefly with theirs, creating a triangle of shared experience that left all three forever changed. The ceremonial markings on Adam and Miranda's skin moved with a life of their own, creating patterns that hadn't been seen in millennia. The old prophecies, Matron Alara whispered, watching the display in awe, about the union that would bridge worlds, were apparently more literal than we thought, Neria completed, her own markings responding to the energy in the room. With a final surge of shared effort, their son entered the world in a burst of bioluminescence so bright it temporarily overloaded the medical sensors. His skin was a perfect blend of human and Cerulan tones, with markings that already showed signs of both species characteristics. His eyes, when they opened, were his father's dark brown, but with his mother's luminescent quality. He's perfect, Miranda breathed, her heat cycle finally beginning to subside as she held their child. Through their bond, Adam felt her profound joy mixing with his own. He's also broadcasting empathically to everyone within a kilometer, Thorian reported, checking the readings. The riots outside have stopped. Everyone's just standing there, feeling what we're feeling. Neria smiled. It seems your son has implemented your transparency plan for you. No political faction can deny the beauty and potential of this moment. They're all experiencing it firsthand. And indeed, the security feeds showed members of opposing factions embracing their natural empathic abilities overwhelmed by the pure positive emotions emanating from the newborn hybrid. "What shall we call him?" Adam asked, gently touching his son's cheek and marveling at the immediate emotional response. "Rylan," Marana decided, the name flowing through their bond with perfect rightness. "It means bridge between stars in ancient Cerulan." "A fitting name," Neria approved, "for one who will help bridge our species." Through their three-way bond, they felt Rylan's agreement with his name, along with an overwhelming sense of possibility for the future. The child's unique genetic heritage had given him capabilities neither species had seen before. But it was the love and acceptance flowing through his family bond that truly made him remarkable. 1 year after Rylan's birth, Adam stood on the balcony of their new home in the diplomatic quarter of New Albion Colony, watching the binary sunset paint the sky in familiar shades of amber and rose. The view reminded him of that fateful evening when he'd forgotten to lock his guest room door. A simple oversight that had changed the course of two species' evolution. Through their now unbreakable bond, he felt Marana approach before her arms slipped around his waist. Her touch still sent electrical pulses through their ceremonial markings, which had evolved into complex patterns that told the story of their unprecedented union. "Thinking deep thoughts, my burning star?" she purred, her heat cycle beginning its familiar rhythm. The cycles had normalized after Rylan's birth, but remained uniquely attuned to Adam's presence. "Just appreciating how one unlocked door led to all this," he replied, sending waves of affection through their bond. Their son's consciousness brushed against both their minds, his afternoon nap disturbed by their surge of shared emotion. "The door was merely catalyst," Counselor Neria's voice announced as she emerged from the shadows, still maintaining her flair for dramatic entrances. The Shadow Consensus had been watching for such a possibility for generations. The elegant Cerulan settled into one of the living crystals that served as furniture, her silver markings shifting with ancient knowledge. "We've long known that human adaptability could enhance our species' natural abilities. We simply needed proof that compatibility was possible." "So you manipulated events to bring us together?" Adam asked, though he felt no anger at the revelation. Through their bond, Marana's amusement at the situation matched his own. "We merely ensured Thorian would hire a human engineer," Neria smiled. "Everything else, the attraction, the bond, young Rylan's abilities, those exceeded our wildest expectations." As if summoned by his name, Rylan toddled into the room, his hybrid features glowing with health and vitality. At 1 year old, he already showed physical development equivalent to a 3-year-old, while his mental and empathic abilities surpassed both human and Cerulan norms. "The first of many," Matron Alara added, entering with Thorian. "Since Rylan's birth, we've documented 17 other human Cerulan pairs forming spontaneous bonds. It seems your son's empathic broadcast during his birth awakened previously dormant compatibility markers in both species. The political landscape has shifted accordingly," Thorian reported, lifting his nephew into his arms. "The progressive and traditional factions have largely merged, focusing on managing the integration rather than fighting it. Even the most conservative elements can't deny the benefits we're seeing in hybrid children. Enhanced empathic abilities combined with human adaptability and innovation," Neria nodded. "Each new hybrid shows unique combinations of traits. The Shadow Consensus believes this is just the beginning of both our species' evolution." Rylan reached out to touch his uncle's markings, causing them to swirl in response to his inherent energy. Through their family bond, Adam and Marana felt their son's deep connection to both his heritages, along with his instinctive understanding of his role in bridging them. "The human diplomatic corps is finally getting on board as well," Adam added, remembering that morning's transmissions. "They're establishing a permanent cultural exchange program. Apparently, there's been a surge of interest in human-Cerulan cooperation across all sectors." "Interest indeed," Marana teased, sending him a private sensation through their bond that made his ceremonial markings flash with sudden heat. Their son giggled at the display, his own nascent markings shimming in response. "And that's our cue to leave," Thorian declared hastily, familiar with the signs of his sister's heat cycles. "Rylan, want to help Uncle Thorian test the new quantum drive modifications?" The boy's enthusiastic response echoed both empathically and verbally as he was carried from the room. Neria and Matron Alara made their own discreet exits, leaving Adam and Marana alone with their thoughts, emotions, and ever-strengthening bond. "Do you ever regret not locking that door?" Marana asked, her yellow eyes glowing with familiar intensity as she drew him toward their private chambers. "Best mistake I ever made," Adam replied, letting their ceremonial markings sink into patterns of shared desire. "Though I'm pretty sure your brother still hasn't forgiven me." "He'll get over it," she laughed, the sound like crystal chimes in his mind. Especially once he admits his own attraction to that new human diplomatic attaché. Their shared amusement turned to passion as they celebrated their unique bond, their markings creating displays of light that would have scandalized the traditionalists a year ago. Through their connection, they felt Ryland's contentment as he worked with his uncle, his consciousness already sophisticated enough to give his parents privacy during their intimate moments. Later, as they lay entwined in sheets that shimmed with residual energy from their lovemaking, Adam reflected on how completely his life had changed because of one unlocked door. Their bond hummed with shared satisfaction as Marana picked up on his thoughts. "The door was just the beginning," she murmured against his chest. "Our story is still being written in the genes of our son and every new hybrid child born into this brave new galaxy." Through their three-way family bond, they felt Ryland's agreement and his excitement for the future they were all helping to create. A future where humans and Cerulans would continue to explore their compatibility, producing generations of children who would bridge the stars with their unprecedented abilities and understanding. "I love you," Adam sent through their bond, the simple human phrase carrying layers of Cerulan emotional resonance. "And I you, my burning star," Marana replied, her response echoing with both human passion and Cerulan depth. Their son's consciousness brushed against theirs once more, adding his own unique harmony to their eternal bond. A living testament to the amazing things that could happen when one left their door open to possibility.